Hello everyone, here is another video from Less Than 10 Tutorials. I am Toshif and today we're going to learn about basic HTML. Then we'll be creating a web page and host it on github.io. GitHub.io is basically an online service that lets you host pages directly from your GitHub repositories. So this is very interesting because you can maintain your code versions in your GitHub repository as well as host it directly on this section of GitHub called github.io. So before going to that, we're going to learn about basic HTML. So what is HTML? It is known as hypertext markup language or HTML, and it's a very standard coding language for web pages. So everything that you see on the internet today are all HTML. Anything that you browse in your browser, they are all made or written in HTML. So an easy way to check is you can right click and view page source, and this is the HTML document that is loaded on your browser, and this is a coded format of what you see on your browser web page. So without wasting much time, I want to cover the basic elements of HTML. So as you see, once you view source, you will see there is a lot of code here, and there are many tags and many properties of HTMLs. So don't get overwhelmed by all this because these are advanced pages for modern web browsing, and you'll often see that there are a lot of components in it. And today we're going to scratch the surface and learn about some basic stuff for how HTML looks like. So I have included a very high level outline of an HTML page, and what you will see is you will see a markup language which is starts with the less than symbol and then the ends with the greater than symbol. So this is a syntax that we use in any markup language. For example, XML also uses a similar syntax. So uh, HTML is basically another markup language made specifically for the web. And as you can see, that everything is enclosed within a wrapper called HTML. So it starts with an HTML tag. We call these tags. Everything that is within these brackets are called tags. And everything in an HTML page on the highest level has to be wrapped in an HTML tag. And then there are examples of more tags that has specific functions. So as you can see, each of these tags are wrapped within another tags, and within these wraps you have to write whatever you want to write. Say for example, the HTML first will have three basic components: a head, which is a head wrapper, and then there is a body which contains all the text that you have. So I have included details about what each wrapper is. So head wrapper is basically contains all the header information, like for example title, whatever appears on the title of your web browser. Like for example here it shows creating a web page, or if you go to the top it says whatever shows up in your browser tab, the text. This is what the head component or the title component shows. So whatever you write within these braces, which means right here, whatever you write here will show up as your header for your tab or your browser. Then styles and scripts, these are basically some designing components. So styles is tells you what color, what font to use, and it has all the information about what kind of formatting that the text in this web page or the images in the web page has. And script is basically a JavaScript. You can assume that this is kind of like the brain of the web page, and it will contain the logic and the operations that you want to do. For example, if you have interactive elements, like for example you have a button or you have a text box, whenever you write something and then click on that button, it will perform some operations, like either it will post, it will change color or refresh your web page. Whatever that logic is enclosed in this script tag. And the standard format is JavaScript. So you write whatever logic you want to write within these tags in JavaScript. So this is the header information. You will not see uh, these visually on the web page, but they contains all the style or the styling or the brain, how your web page will behave, all that is enclosed within this head tag. The body tag, however, is actually contains the text that you want to write or show up on the web page. And not only text, it will contain the images, it will contain all the visual components that you want to show in the web page. So, in summary, this is the basic layout of how an HTML page should look like. Now, I want to cover a few more tags, like for example, the p tag or the paragraph tag. So when you do a p, then the web page in the web page you can define a paragraph and write your text. Like for example, this is a paragraph, so this is enclosed within a p tag. Then you have header tags h1, h2, h3, and so on. These are basically headers. For example, in this web page, this is the header. So the h1, h2 defines which component is a header. For example, when you do an h1 tag, you write a text and then close the tag forward slash h1. And what this 1 2 3 means is that 1 is the largest font size, and as you go h3, h4, h5, this font size will become smaller and smaller. Then there is an a tag. A tag is basically a link tab, meaning, like for example, in this web page there are these links. So anything enclosed in an a tag acts as a link. The format of the a tag is a href. Href equals the URL. So whatever link you want to put in, you have to put in this quotes, the link. And there is a display text, meaning this link may be, as you can see, this link is actually the report HTML. So in the bottom of the page, on the left, right, on the left bottom corner, you can see the entire link. However, the display text is, creating a web page with GitHub. So this display text you have to enclose in the a tag, and the href refers to the link which this display text points to. So once we write the web page or some more text ourselves, we will get a better understanding of what this is. In the same way, there is a tag called image tag. So this is used to display an image on your web page, and the format is you have this img tag, and then you have to define a source. So src equals, and then you have to put in the URL of the image. Either it's a local image or it's hosted from another website or a server. You have to put the URL, and then you can add styles, text, etc. We will not go into this. So this is how you display an image. So what you learned is that within the body tag, you can have a bunch of things like a paragraph tag, header tag, link, how to define a link, and how to show images. And using this, we can create a simple web page. One thing of note is that any tag that you open in an HTML has to be closed. Like for example, if you have opened a title tag, it has to close. If it doesn't close, then it becomes an invalid HTML markup code, and then your browser may not behave as predicted. So just keep that in mind. So now what we'll do is we'll try to create a HTML page and then host it on github.io. So I want to cover github.io a little bit. So this is a web service which allows you to host a web page on GitHub. Now, whatever you host on github.io, that has to be an HTML file. And the format is that there is a specific format to host on github.io, and that is you have to create a repository in this format, username.github.io. So whatever is your username .github.io, this has to be the name of your repository. And as we learned before, how to create a repository, you put in this name, like here in this example is nick.github.io, and then inside that uh, there has to be an entry point. So by default, any web page or a web server, once you're hosting, will land on an index file. So it can be an index.html if you're using basic HTML. If it's a PHP, index.php. If it is some other language like a Java or something, then it will be index.jsp. So you have to define an index file in that. and then you create commit like the standard way.